Today on the Ever Onward podcast, I've been waiting for this one for a long, long time. If you told me to list the top 5 mentors in my life I've ever had, Coach Wade Anderson would be right at the top of that list. Many years ago, when I was playing college basketball, Coach Anderson was my coach. I've stayed in contact with him. He is a wonderful human being. There's one of Wade Anderson. God broke the mold when he made Wade. I love this guy with all my heart. His son Clay Anderson's been on before. He's a real estate professional here in the Valley and an unbelievable guy. How can you not be when you're Coach Wade's son? But they're both on today. I can't wait to catch up with one of my mentors, a legend, a hero, and friend, Coach Wade Anderson. Coach Wade Anderson. This is awesome. We've been talking about this, Clay, for a while. When you came in, you said, why me? That's the easiest answer I've ever given in my life. I am so excited. I had another guest on earlier today, Mike Ballantyne. Oh. And I said, if you had to stack up top 5 people in my life that I look up to, you're up there, and I love you so much. I learned so much from you, so that's why. And we've stayed in good touch. And so I told Clay, I said, we got to get Coach Anderson on here to tell some stories and impart some wisdom.
Well, it's a little lofty on this pedestal you've placed me on. I might get dizzy.
Well, it's all true. It's all true. So I was at Rick's College a long time ago. And played basketball there, and you were my coach then. And from the moment I met you, you just have a way about you and a way you carried yourself that was something else. And I had an immediate connection with you. You taught me a lot. You taught me a lot about growing up, how to be a man, how to be accountable. And I stayed in touch with you the whole time. And you probably don't remember a few of the notes you've sent me over the years or texts you've sent me. I've kept them all. Or the Louis L'Amour book you sent me. So I can't wait for this today, Coach.
Good.
It'll be fun. And I got Clay Anderson here. Clay's been on the podcast before. He's one of our local real estate professionals, Berkadia now. He's the multifamily expert for Idaho and the region. So, Clay, it's nice to have you back.
Glad to be here. I'm glad to be here with my dad. He's a good man.
Coach, I want to get a little bit about the man and who you are. So tell us a little bit about growing up and about your upbringing.
Well, Tommy, I grew up on a farm in Rupert, Idaho. And we had the cowboy culture, where you did things on horseback if you could, because you didn't want to walk. Or you got a car because you didn't want to walk to the far end of the farm to chase the irrigation ditch. So you drove the quarter of a mile in a car because walking was we were in a cowboy culture, and it was great. We played sports. We had a junior team in the church league that was as good as any team in the town. Mature people and everybody, they all wanted us to play them. So we had that team mentality. Just youngsters just playing on Sunday and playing on Monday, and we just played sports.
What were your folks like? Tell us about your parents.
Well, my dad was an old cowboy, but mentality, just kind of reserved, not too. He loved us all, but he didn't display a lot of affection. And my mother just believed in us. She was positive all the time. But she didn't compliment a lot because she thought that you'd get conceited if she complimented you. We talked about this a little bit, about our growing up and how it affected us. And the things that, when we got married, the things that we wanted to do a little bit different. We wanted to support our kids in everything they did in their sports and compliment them and tell them they were good looking even when they weren't.
Clay's pretty good looking, Coach.
Oh, I know.
Well, maybe I'd interject a little bit too on that topic of that. incredibly supportive parents, always there for us in every event. My mom would call the newspaper every week and say, "Did you know my son got his Eagle Scout?" And they're like, "Oh, here comes Maryland again. We better put it in the paper." But the story that, I may have shared a little bit of it before, but playing basketball, and he wanted to play in high school, and his dad said, "You got to work on the farm. We can't get you to practice." And so he didn't even make the high school team, goes and tries out at Rick's College. And the coach says, "You're pretty good. Where'd you play high school ball?" Well, I didn't play. So then the coach said, "Well, we're going to have to cut you. If you didn't play in high school." And then that year they had an intramural game, or they had an intramural team, and the college team, they had a visiting team come in that had to cancel for weather. And so they invited this intramural team in, and my dad lit him up and he said, "I don't care if you didn't play in high school. We got to have you on the team." So he played years at Rick's and then at Utah State on a nationally ranked team, played at Madison Square Garden. And I think your parents came to at least one of your games in college once they realized, hey, this is kind of a big deal.
Hey, this guy made it. I better go to a game.
We better hit a game. But
Well, the neighbors had read about my participation on the team at Utah State, and so they dragged my parents from Rupert to Logan to watch a game. It just happened to be the BYU game, and we had a little confrontation with BYU in Provo about 2 weeks earlier, and they had a grudge. So when they came to Logan, they retaliated, and they ran our star player into the end zone and into the net at the end of the court, and then a big fight developed.
Cowboy culture.
Cowboy culture. But it's also, Coach, you're playing BYU. Come on. Those guys are dirty. They've got dirty in their DNA, right?
Don't get me started.
Every once in a while on this podcast, we talk about our love for BYU or other things.
Well, I support them when I watch them on TV. I cheer for BYU.
But when they play Utah State, it's a different deal, right?
That's right. And when we competed against them, we used to compete with them when they had the freshman team, and we were Rick's College.
Yeah.
And we just didn't like them to compete against them.
Yeah. What was it like, Madison Square Gardens? I hadn't heard that before. You got to play back there.
Well, it was the first game of the season, and we had been ranked the preseason, the season before. So we went out and played at Madison Square Garden, and we played against New York University. And to come to find out, after the game, we got home and found out that the game had been influenced by the gamblers. And we were supposed to win by 3, and we won by 2. And their star player was supposed to influence the score to the exact margin.
I never heard that.
It's like gangster days.
Wow.
In New York.
Well, that was the period of time when a lot of the major universities dropped sports.
Huh.
University of San Francisco, where Bill Russell played, they dropped. The Ivy League tampered down their participation in sports, and a lot of schools dropped sports because of that gambling scandal.
Huh.
And then over the years, they've brought them back.
Huh.
But, yeah.
Was that, had you been to New York before then?
Oh, no, that's my first time flying. I was a country boy.
I was going to say, that's a big trip,
We're
right?
on an airplane.
So you get on an airplane and go to New York City. That's pretty great experience.
Well, no, it's a funny thing. We get off the bus for practice at the Madison Square Garden the day before the game, and there's hundreds of little teenage girls just cheering for us and cheering. And we're getting off the bus, and we say, "What's going on?" And one of our big players, he was 6'8", black guy, that he had taken ballet in the summertime at Utah State, and they had bussed out or flew out hundreds of little teenage girls to take a ballet course, and he took ballet with these girls.
Oh, wow.
That's
And they
cool.
made instant fans out of
Oh,
him.
yeah, and so that when he showed up, they were,
Hey, did you win?
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We won by 3.
Oh, that's right. You won by 3 because they were supposed to win by 2.
Yeah.
That's great.
Covered the spread, and the guy on the other team made the money out of it, I guess, or something, huh?
Yes, he took $700 to from the gamblers to influence the score.
What a story.
Exact.
What a story. Did you get into coaching right after? When did you first get into coaching?
Well, that's a long story, but I'll tell it to you.
Good. That's what we're here for.
At Utah State, we had, when I finished my eligibility, I just stayed and did work on master's degree and coached the freshman team. I was the assistant freshman coach. So then when we graduated, then I was ready to go teach school and coach, and then so I've been coaching since that graduate days, then high school, and then Rick's College. So it's been.
Did you always know you wanted to be a coach?
No. No, it's just that was what I did, and that's where I spent my spare time, and that's where I discovered that I excelled a little bit, so that's where I went.
One of the things about you, and I've told Clay this before, I remember as a young kid coming to campus and meeting you, and the first time when you would talk to us, you were locked in. And I think your ability to connect with other people is pretty unique. The way you listen, the way you look into your soul, the way you connect. I asked Clay, I said, was that like that when you were his son? Did he like it? You have a commanding presence in a way that I want to listen to you. I want to follow you. I want to be like you. Did you always have that way of connecting with your?
No, I'm just discovering these things right now. I teach Sunday school class sometimes, and I think, are you listening? And I have one neighbor that's a good friend. He keeps saying he can't hear a lick. The only person he can hear is himself. And so he keeps saying, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. And he says, talk louder, a project, move your mouth. So thank you.
Yeah. No, it was a unique, like when you ask why did you make such an impact? I mean, that was it. Your ability to like really connect with people, Coach, was, and everyone knew that. I mean, everyone on the team, Coach Anderson was our guy because of that. I imagine, how many years did you coach?
How many total?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I went to third grade, so I did learn math. Probably 25, 30,
Yeah.
more than that.
Those early,
Let me add them up. 2, 9, 12, 5, and 1. What's that? 2, 5, 9.
Clay's
14, yeah, 25. He was one of the pioneering coaches. He coached at Rigby High School, but then when he went to Rick's, it was all hands on deck. So you were involved in baseball and football, and he knows a lot about every sport. It's amazing, and he's good at every sport. So you were involved in baseball and football, and did you do track at all?
Swimming, tennis.
Did it
No, I
all.
didn't do track.
How many? I think 25 is probably shy. Because when did you graduate? I mean, when did you retire? What year?
202, I think.
Yeah.
22.
Yeah. So
A lot of
my
years.
point is a lot of years. If you think back of how many people you influenced that are like me, how many kids do you think you coached over your career?
Oh my! I don't know. When you start talking about teams, it's a lot, and then when you talk about summer camps,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'd have 200 or 300 kids in summer camp every summer.
We took our kids to several camps growing up, BYU and other team camps and individual camps, and I've never seen a better run camp than the Rick's College basketball camp.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they'd run. It's pretty much 8 a.m. till 9 o'clock at night.
Hundreds
every
of
day.
kids, yeah.
Hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
But one of the things, we moved back to Idaho nearly 20 years ago, and everywhere you go, you run into somebody. Oh, Coach Anderson, I remember him, and he was such a
Hey,
good man. And
Is this recorded? I love this.
It is recorded, Coach.
you got to tell him about that time we were walking the bridge at Twin Falls, and he was the guy that I think you took the ring off. And
Oh no, that wasn't the guy.
wasn't the guy? Because he said you had a lot of influence on me, and I want to thank you. And maybe you should tell him that story though.
About what? That guy that took the ring off?
Yeah, this is cowboy culture. This is back before.
We're going to get into cowboy culture because we're going to get into Louis L'Amour here in a minute. But tell us this story.
It's okay. It's past the statute of limitations. There's no.
I don't want to get sued, but I had a kid in class.
This is high school.
I had a kid in class that came to school inebriated. He was drunk. And he just was sitting in the back and he would just yak, 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 yak. And he's interrupting and moving his chair and wrestling with classmates. And I said, his name was Marty. I said, Marty, knock it off. You can't tell me what to do. I said, Marty, quit it. And he said, oh, okay. Then he kept acting up, so I walked back and I said, you go sit by the window. And he said, I don't want to. So I grabbed him by the collar and I said, Marty, you're going to sit by the window. So I drug him up by the window. And he was wrestling with me. I said, Marty, knock it off. And I gave him a little tug, and it sounded like his shirt ripped a little bit. And then he got mad at me. He started cussing me. Started calling me names. You ripped my shirt. You ripped my shirt. And so I said, Marty, we're going down to the principal's office. You're not going to be in this classroom any longer. Let's go. So we're walking down the hall, and it's about 50 yards down the hall to the principal's office. On the way, he's do I really need to tell this
Yes,
story?
you need to finish it. Come on.
Come
finish
on,
strong.
Coach. Finish strong.
So he's still cussing me. So I have a big class ring. It's a heavy one, and I slip it off, put it in my pocket, and I go whack across his. I just smacked him, and he looked at me and he says, Coach, I'll behave now. So we went back to class and didn't go to the principal's office, and he was my buddy from that on. About 10 years later, I saw him at a ball game, and I'm coming out of the ball game, and he yelled at me, Coach, Coach. I said, hey, how you doing, Marty? He says, hey, Coach, you're my favorite teacher. I said, really? He says, yeah. And he says, and I want to thank you for taking that ring off. I said, you're welcome.
Oh, what a great story. I can't believe he messed with you because you were one of the things about you, Coach, is you have a presence. You had a presence about you and still do. Like when you talk to people, they listen. And I asked Clay that too when he was on. I said, hey, were you ever like, and it's not intimidated, but it was respect. He just had respect for you, the way you carried yourself, the way you talked, the way you interacted. So I'm surprised anybody needed to have the ring taken off because I think the rest of us were like, yes, Coach. Yes, Coach.
Maybe the inebriation impaired the guy's judgment. I don't know.
That could be. That could be. Let's talk a little bit about cowboy culture. It sounds like you really connected with that with your father, and that's how you grew up. And then I remember when I was on the campaign trail, we talked a little bit about your love of Louis L'Amour and that culture. Talk a little bit about that. Just the culture, what it means, and what it means in America today. And
Well, we grew up in a neighborhood with the farm boys, and they all had horses, and we didn't. But my dad was a cowboy, but he didn't. When he moved to the farm, he got horses for the kids, but he never rode the horses again. But he had that mentality, that cowboy culture, you know, where you don't get affectionate and you don't talk about love and you're on your own. You know, he was a great athlete, but he really never showed us much about. It's just you're on your own, you know, and so that's the kind of the attitudes that we grew up with. Just we're on our own, we're independent, and then I got started reading Louis L'Amour, and I liked the philosophy that he expressed through his novels. And then I started collecting them. Started collecting the Louis L'Amour novels and their quotes, and I had a book of quotes that I sent to you. So I think one of the things that experience did for me is it developed a love of reading,
Yeah.
so that I could read a while and then put a book down and say, hey, I need to read something. So it actually made it easier for me to read the scriptures, for example, because I love to read. Not that I necessarily loved the scriptures at that time, but I just loved to read. And okay. And that, I think it developed that love to read by reading Louis L'Amour books.
That's a great connection. I know that book means a lot to me, and I have it sitting right in my office now. I keep it right there. It's right front and center, just so you know that. But it also gives me a connection to my grandfather, because my grandfather was my other hero, and my fondest memories of him. And there are a lot of them, but it's one particular. He had an old weeping willow tree that's where he put his old. He had one of those old folding lawn chairs, and I would see him under that tree, and I'd go sit down and talk to him, and he always had a Louis L'Amour book in his hand, and he was one of the biggest fans. So another point of our connection is I've always had a deep love and memories of him and Louis L'Amour, and then there's Coach Wade Anderson, and it's a big connection for me, bigger than life for me, because it really connects the two of you and two of my heroes, and it reminds me of him. I don't think I've ever told you that, but that's
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
One of the things that's surprising to me is that if you talk about reading Louis L'Amour books, it's amazing how many people say, "Oh, I read those too," and you had no idea that because everybody kind of keeps it quiet. Oh, I'm reading a Louis L'Amour book, and then you get some sophisticated literature people, and they say, "Oh, those are like comic books."
He had an amazing, simple way of expressing the American West and ideals and morals, and I love him. They may be comic. That's probably why I like him so much. Like
Easy read.
Easy read for me.
Yeah.
That's great. Hey, Coach, I just reading here because I had you do this. 5 kids, 23 grandkids, and 3 great grandchildren. Talk about the importance of family in your life, and what it means to have the family you have. I know a few of your kids, and I know what they think of you too. But what does family mean to you?
Family is number one to me. There's important things in your life. Your religion, your convictions. Family is number one.
Yeah.
And we are very fortunate. We are blessed beyond our ability to deserve it, to have the family that we do. We have 5 children, and they're all just, my wife would say they're all perfect. And they're great to get together. I mean, when we sit around at a family reunion in a big room like this and just swap stories, that's heaven right there.
What's some of the secrets to having a family like that, a legacy like that? What advice would you give our listeners about the importance of being a father and a grandfather and connecting these generations?
Well, I think you've got to encourage them to excel in school and their activities, support them in their games and in whatever they're doing, their courtship. You're interested in, and I think we talked about this a little bit. We deviated from our culture that we grew up in. We express our love for each other. We're always saying "love you," and we always respond by saying "I love you more." And then the next response is "I love you most," and then we finish it by saying "I love you more than most people do." So it's just great.
Yeah.
I go and listen to some other people talk about their families, and I say, "Oh my gosh, we're so blessed. We are so blessed."
I might interject just a little bit. They did prioritize the family and being there for events, and I think they both not felt overly neglected, but that in their activities growing up, they didn't see a lot of that, and they committed early on in their marriage. We're going to support our kids, and we're going to be there for them. I remember kids in the neighborhood would ring on my doorbell and say, "Hey, is your dad here?" to throw the ball to us and play catch, and like they knew he'd be around. And when we'd go shoot hoops, he'd pass the ball, and he was such a good, kind of talk about his presence. He was such a great listener. Even early on at Rick's College, I mean, they had him on advisory boards because they knew he'd be honest, but that he'd listen and he understood where people were coming from. I think I shared this last time, but one thing that always hit me hard, we were in the equipment room, kind of lower paying employees that were there, and my dad would always stop in and check in on them and call them by name and how you doing, what's going on, and then he'd left the room from it, and I think it was Neil or Milt, I can't remember which one, and he said, "Hey, come here. That's why your dad's special. He always takes time to talk to us when not many people do." And that had a big impact on me, that everybody matters. And he's just he's considerate of other people, but family was always a priority. And we feel that even now.
I think when I talk about you just hit on some of the biggest things. I don't know that I've ever been around a better listener, because you're around people all the time. And when you talk to them, sometimes you're like, are they listening to me, right? I always felt, Coach, and everyone I know that knows you felt like he listens to me. And I don't know if it's something, I don't know if you're just born with that or what, but when we talked to you or we came to you for advice or we wanted, whether it was about life or, I remember one time you giving me a talk about going on a mission. You might not even remember this, but I remember you sitting me down and I thought, man, he just listened to me. And then the second part of that, I think you just said too, Clay, is you always got it straight from Coach Anderson. So when you would listen, and then I think the ability to listen and then give straight advice. I mean, it was clear, your ability to communicate. You knew, and I think it meant a lot, right? Because you knew that you listened, and then you said you were able to connect to your heart and say, "Hey, here's what you need to do," and it meant a lot that way. It just is. And then lastly, the kindness, right? Just the ability to know that you got someone in your corner. Whether you're the guy in the equipment room or you're the star of the team or you're the guy on the bench, everyone, that love was genuine and deep. Was it intentional? How much of this was help us be better? Help us be better people.
One of the things that I really appreciated at Rick's College is that we used to play faculty noon hoop. If you had an hour off at lunchtime, you went to the gym and you played noon hoop. It was faculty, but it was also custodians and bus drivers and carpenters and administrators and presidents. And because of that atmosphere and because we were just in the game to play, it kind of broke down barriers between certain levels of administration, and custodians played with presidents. And it just made the atmosphere tremendous. We all knew each other. We all played noon hoop, at least from every level. Not everybody played, because not everybody plays. But it was great. And I'll tell you a story. We were we played with our president at that time. Well, Henry Eyring was our president. He played a little bit, and Bruce Hafen was our president, and he played a little bit. And others played. But then they wrote a history about Rick's College, and they were quoting Bruce Hafen and how he appreciated playing noon hoop and getting to know everybody at all levels. And he says, "I used to think I was a superstar because I'd go to noon hoop and I could score at any time I wanted." And he says, in the book, he says, "And then I went to shoot one time and Wade Anderson checked my shot." And he said, "Then I realized the rest of them were just letting me go. And because Wade Anderson checked my shot, I realized I was finally accepted."
And he could trust you because you weren't going to give him a free pass of the lane. You're going to shut him down.
You're not a guy that's going to give people a free pass in the lane, Coach. I know that about you. Hey, was Elder Eyring, could he play?
Yeah, he played.
But what could he play? Did he have game, Coach?
Not bad.
Not bad.
Well, he was a high school player at East High.
And he was tall.
And he tried out at the University of Utah and didn't make it, but he played.
Did you check his shot?
No. When there were some people who didn't know how to tone it down and got too physical, And when they got physical with Henry, he said, "This is distracting from my spirituality," and so he quit playing a little bit.
He's a great man, great guy. Advice you would give young leaders, young coaches, young business professionals? We've hit a lot of them. Listen, honesty, kind of tell it like it is, I'm sure is one of them. But what other kindness, looking around you, any other suggestions you would give us that we could glean off of your wisdom?
Yes. One of the things I discovered, and I'm still discovering, is that the more you know about something, the more you discover that you don't know. There's still plenty to learn. And so when I graduated from college, I thought, hey, I've played college ball, I know a lot. I didn't know very much at all. In fact, Gary Gardner, your coach, taught me a lot. He was kind of an offensive genius, really. Not so much on defense, but on offense, he knew schemes and strategies that were pretty good. And so I learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot, but I learned a lot. And because of that, my advice is, if you have someone that has some experience, listen. They know some things that you haven't discovered yet. I've got kids in the neighborhood that play high school ball, and I say, oh, I could help you with your shot. And they, I don't need any help. I'm good. So my advice would be, if someone who has had some experience offers some suggestions, put your ears on and listen.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've learned, and one thing that I've discovered that is difficult for teenage kids to actually listen. In fact, my own grandkids have a hard time taking my suggestions.
But one thing I would say with principles in life and parenting and leading a business or anything else is to have the security to be able to listen and take feedback. But also, I was amazed and saw it somewhat in my life, but especially in your grandkids' lives, you and mom are both so optimistic and encouraging. They see that they're more cheerleaders than critics. They see things, and they're so, whenever they'd come into town, they would see all the good that my kids were doing. When sometimes as a parent, you're like, oh, I wish my son was doing better in school and that he was managing his diabetes better or this. And they would see all these positives, and they'd be so encouraging of, hey, you have a great voice. Why don't you work on your singing? But it was always cheerleading more than criticism. And our kids felt that love. And when they feel loved, they respond to, encouragement and anything else. And so I think as a coach, as a parent, and as a person, he's always, and my mom have always been just very encouraging and seeing the good in people. And it makes you want to be better.
Clay's mother is very good at that, way better than I am. She's a cheerleader.
How many years you been married now, Coach? Sorry to
get it right.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
63.
63 years.
Yeah.
63 years. Wow.
He's also, with listening, he's a great storyteller, and that ties into a lot of tradition and culture and identity too. But
what? So the other thing, even today, when you came in today, humility. One of the greatest men I've ever known, and you're just humble, Coach. How important is humility? Because I think that's the other thing you would preach and teach is humility. And I think your son, I think of Clay Anderson, anyone who knows him, there's a, big physical presence, handsome guys, could be very dominant cowboy culture, but there's a humility about you. How important is humility?
Pretty important. It is important. Without it, what could you go on learning? Could you go on encouraging? I mean, if you're overconfident and think you have the world by the tail and know all the answers, you don't.
Makes you more teachable, right? I think they go hand in hand, right? One of the things I think you preach is being teachable and learning, but it's humility has to be part of that.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. I think about this now. he had a great balance, and I think it comes a lot from listening and helping someone process their own, feelings and thoughts. But if I had a really big game, he wasn't an over promoter of it. He'd, hey, you did well, and he would. But if I had a bad game, he was really good at listening and helping me process, hey, it wasn't as bad as you think. And so there was a lot of balance in him helping be grounded to what reality was, not overinflating and, oh, you could do anything in the world, you could be Michael Jordan. It was encouraging, but in a balanced way that I think was always healthy.
If I listen to this podcast, I'm going to get the big head, I think.
Hey, Coach, how old are you now?
I'm trying to add them up. 86.
86 years old, 86 years young. You can get a big head at 86, Coach. You can listen to these things because you've been so influential.
One of the favorite things I have to say in this life is, have you ever been 86? And if you say no, then I get to say, well, pay attention then.
I love that.
He uses it a lot.
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
And
86.
it's not that I have a lot of more wisdom. It's just that I have a different perspective
Sure.
from having been here.
Sure. You brought up Gary Gardner, and you were a good team because I think a lot of your strengths were his weak. He was a little bit of a hothead coach, as you know. And I just want to bring one story. There's a couple of great Gary Gardner stories, but we were playing North Idaho, and it was a close game. And we had some great guys on our team, Trent Shippen, and he was kind of the star of the team. Gerald Reddick, I don't know if you remember Gerald Reddick, and housekeeper. We had a great team, but we lost at the last second of that game, and I think we blew a lead. And it was a tough environment to play in. We were ahead, we were going to win, and then we lost. And we went into the locker room, and he took his tie and he threw it off, and he was screaming and yelling after the game was over. And then he grabbed his shirt. And why it's one of the best stories. I didn't know if this was possible, but if you pull a dress shirt hard enough, you can pop all the buttons off it. So I remember him standing there, and he popped his buttons off his shirt. And he threw his shirt down, and then he went out in the hallway with his underwear and just went out and did his. So if you remember, we had that little Christmas party when we played down in Salt Lake, and we got him a shirt with the Velcro. We said, Coach, here's your that was his Christmas gift was the Velcroed shirt. And anyway, you were my point of bringing him up. He was a great guy, but you complimented each other so well. You probably have even better stories, but he was. He could go off, right?
He could. We went out to your house, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
We went out and had lunch or
dinner or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
Taylorsville, somewhere out that
In
direction.
Magna.
Yeah.
Magna, yeah. A lot of great memories, a lot of great teams over the years. A lot of people that I'm sure are still in contact with you. A lot of great stories. Have you written all this down?
No. I'm humble.
Coach, we need a book.
We need to write it down.
We need it down because I think it just is amazing. A couple other things I wanted to get to, Coach, is you 86. The importance of God in your life, the importance of moral codes and kind of living to your potential. Another thing you taught me, how important that is. How important is that as now you look back on your life?
Well, as I mentioned, family's number one, and religion is right there with it. But it's amazing to me, this is amazing to me, that people cannot apply logic and reasoning and observation more into their life. And they cling to these false narratives and concepts. Look around. Who's happiest? Who's most successful? Who is healthier? What are they doing? Whatever they're doing, you need to follow suit and do some of the same things. And that's how I feel about religion. It's a major influence for good in your life, and it influences your family, your presence, and of course, the hereafter. And you better be thinking about those things with not just blind faith, but with insert a little bit of logical thinking and reasoning power. It's a gift that God gave us all.
Yeah. And in our experiences, we have those things that happen over time, and with God involved in those, it'd be tough to live if you didn't have that faith
Oh my gosh.
in your day to day and with your family, and as you raise kids and 23 grandkids and 3 great grandkids now, right, Coach? What are some of your memories, Clay, that just are? I mean,
Yeah, I think
have him on, but to have a relationship and friendship with you as long as I've asked you when you were on, how is it being Coach Anderson's son? I mean, it's what a special time for you.
it's been awesome. Yeah, the connection of me being the ball boy for years at Rick's College with Tommy, and then playing at Rick's, and so my dad being in a role as my father and as a leader in church as well at different times, and then as my coach, and it's been a great blessing for me. It's been a lot of fun. We follow the same concept with our kids as we're raising our best friends, and I think that's what they did. We played a lot at the parks, and it was, if we had interest in tennis, we were at the tennis courts, and he also did a good job at helping me see my direction in life. I remember like junior high, I was a pretty good basketball player and pretty competitive, but I also got into skateboarding. I had this skateboarding crowd of friends, and then I had my basketball group of friends, and he would never criticize, but he would ask me questions, just thought-provoking questions about, hey, what did you do tonight, and how did that go, and what are those kids, not like those kids are losers, but where are they heading in life? What are they, what? And he did it in a way that caused me to think about where I was going in life without me saying, oh, my dad's telling me what I need to do in my life, and that's been a great thing. We just the traditions of being together. They always seem to take time to be around and be with us, and I think humor plays a lot into
Clay,
it.
I think you just said something that I never heard it put that way. That if you're raising your best friends, that's probably how we all ought to look at every day with our own kids and our own grandkids. You're raising your best friends, right? And nothing's more true than that. I think as you get older too, Coach, right? I mean, the circle kind of gets smaller, but the family connections and your best friends that are the ones that are there every day and day out, that's just so critical, isn't it?
Yes, I love that statement too. That's exactly true.
Yeah, I think of this.
We're raising our best friends.
Yeah.
We just had our reunion this summer, and siblings around and grandkids, and there's no better testament to that than just observation, right?
Yeah.
You can preach things, but they see us interacting together, and they see my parents being encouraging in the relationship they have with the kids, and so that's been our motto: is we're raising our best friends, and it's a thing that's perpetually moves forward and goes on and on. But
Well, Coach, that hour went really, really fast. I knew it would. But I want to end with, when Clay was on, I said, do you think your dad could come over and get on this thing? This is a highlight for me. Thank you for making the time and being here. And
Well, I'm going to leave here thinking I'm way special. I'm going to
as you should.
I'm going to shed my humility.
you can shed it for a while. I speak on behalf of, I don't know how many thousands of people that you've influenced in a significant way. There are people all over this country like me that have on their top of their list that Wade Anderson's their mentor, their friend. So thank you for living a life that's so incredible and teaching. You never stop teaching. And I hope that, whoever listens to this podcast and can understand the value of listening, speaking with truth, and then leading the way you've led, living a life that people wanted to be like you. Thank you, Coach.
Well, thank you, Tommy. That's a great compliment. Thank you, too.
Thanks for being my dad.
Thanks, Coach. We love you so much. Thanks
you.
for coming over and doing this. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having him.